Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett,
And I'm Kevin.
and we are your hosts. Movie Club is a show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it, just like a book club. On today's show, we're covering the classic thriller Rear Window. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 1954, Rear Window was directed by Alfred Hitchcock and stars James Stewart, Grace Kelly, and Thelma Ritter. A house and wheelchair-bound photographer, his fashion model girlfriend, and his visiting nurse spy on neighbors from his courtyard window. Despite skepticism by his detective friend, they're convinced one of his neighbors is a murderer. It is currently ranked 51 on IMDb's Top 250 and has a 4.4 on Letterboxd and is ranked number 69 on its Top 250. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Sound, Best Cinematography, Best Screenplay, and Best Director. Before we dive into our thoughts, though, we are going to be discussing everything that happens in this movie, so we're going to issue a spoiler alert for the film. We will be discussing plot points, twists, revelations, and everything that happens in the film, so if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it first, then come back. It's okay. You're not going to offend us. But stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what movie we're covering next week, because it is one that I have been excited about for a very long time. Alrighty, Kevin. So Rear Window this week, back to kind of the weekly suggestions, was your pick.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
why Rear Window?
Because it's such a damn good movie.
Easy
Next
enough.
question.
Yeah. I mean, this is a film that I feel like every person who's into film who took classes saw in high school or in college or has been discussed to high hell. So, this is a movie that I saw a while ago during actual classes. But what's your history with the film? Had you seen it kind of before being on this film journey?
Yes, so I did see it because I wanted to watch more Hitchcock movies because I was very intrigued of what is it, filmography, and I was really enjoying some of his other work, like Psycho, and I think I watched North by Northwest or something like that, and then Rear Window popped up, and I think it's one of his best works in my opinion because of how he deals with just sitting or being in one room the entire time. And like I said in my review, it's so crazy that this is a 1954 movie, and it's so iconic because you're just staying in one place. Other people would have gone out for this mystery thriller adventure movie, and not adventure movie, just mystery thriller movie. But he makes you stay in one place, and that makes your mind think a little bit more than anything else, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like it's part of the core story of the movie, and I'm glad you picked up on that, because I guess we can kind of jump into that like kind of interpretation, because there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret this movie. I think that on face value you can interpret this as he just happens to come upon a neighbor who he starts to suspect of things, and then ends up solving the mystery. There is that part of it, and there's definitely more of the thriller aspect to it, but there are two very different perspectives that I kind of walk away from this movie with, and I'm curious to see if there are ones that you pick up on with this.
So I'm not going to take full credit for it because I did watch and explain the ending kind of of video, but I liked how it gives one of the theories was, or perspectives was, things aren't always what they seem to be, is what I got from it. Because with the dancer lady, I forget her name, the one of his neighbors, she is like, she's an attractive woman in the movie, and she always has men over, so he always anticipates that she's kind of like a go-getter or something like that. But then at the end of the movie, she gets greeted by her husband, who is not perfect, but that's what she
boyfriend it's not really clear. But at least from what I picked up on.
And what our main character sees is that she doesn't view him as perfect, but she's perfect for him, or her, the other way around, vice versa. So that's what I kind of picked up on it watching it the second time, because I liked watching what really wasn't on the screen per se, but like what was kind of off to the side of the screen.
Yeah. And I think that that's a little bit of one of the perspectives that I walk away from it with, or at least similar. Because one of them is that, on one hand, I feel like this movie can be very meta, because I do think that, on one hand, I think that LB Jeffries, who's our main character, is a stand-in for the movie-going audience. And basically, as we're being, as we're stuck in one location, being a movie theater or at home or whatever, we're watching so many other people live their lives. And if you think about it, every window in that apartment complex looks like a screen.
True.
So in many different ways, you can look about movie audiences themselves viewing so many different stories, but then also projecting our own thoughts and fears and desires and things into them. We want to read into things more than they really are. We want things to be more exciting. We want things to be more movie-like. I mean, look at conspiracy theory people. Like, they're desperate for this world to be sinister or something more than it really is, because they just can't take it being boring. Like, it's that same kind of idea, and I think that is kind of an overarching idea, and maybe not exactly what Hitchcock was going for, but at least that's kind of what I walked away from it as, is that, and maybe on the part of LB Jeffries as well, being stuck somewhere, he's making up stories for people. Like, you see that all the time, right? Like, oh, like you said, she's promiscuous, she's got a lot of guys over, but it's actually she's married or has a boyfriend or whatever. There's so many different stories going on. But the big one for me that I walked away from is this movie was made in 1954.
Crazy, first of all, how good it looks too for 1954.
Yes, very good looking for 1954, but also some good restoration work done as well to help make it look so good. But there's a really big thing happening during 1954 that I'm sure many of you have heard of. It's called the Cold War. And this came out at a time when so many people were so incredibly afraid, and there's a real resentment towards the idea that their neighbor could be a communist. And by making a story that's like, oh, I think he's a murderer, is a good way of critiquing the idea of, I think he's a communist. And I do think that this film, because I don't know what's his name, Hitchcock's perspective on like the McCarthy committee and stuff, and like the House of Un-American Activities, and the idea of spying on your neighbors, and Hollywood people ratting each other out to be exposed for potential communist activities and stuff. I don't know his perspectives on that. I would have to research it, but I definitely feel like he is commenting on it here in one way or another. Right?
Like, I can see that.
When there's such a fear and such a hatred that you're kind of spying on all your neighbors and seeing what they do, and like, oh, that's not very American, or in this case, that's not very normal, like, where did the wife go, like, so I think that it could be very much a message and either a critique, or maybe he was for spying on your neighbors and ratting people out. You mean there is something to be said there, but I think that there is also a message of, like, when you create a reality and it comes true kind of a thing. Because of the ending of this movie, it's so much more, like, it hits close to home, right? It's all fun and games until you get involved. Like, it's all vicarious until you get involved. Like, it's so well done.
Yeah, it is. I love that aspect of it, and how we're seeing it wasn't just one person's window, I want to say, or one person's life that you get a perspective through. It's multiple people that Hitchcock wants you to see, because he wants to make you think about your own interpretation of what is going on in some of these movies, like The Lonely Widow. Oh, I don't know if she's a widow, but The Lonely Lover, I think that's what he calls her.
I think
the
Miss
one
Lonely Hearts or something.
Miss Lonely Hearts, yeah.
Yeah, Miss Lonely Hearts.
We don't know what happened to her husband, or if she had a husband or didn't have a husband. So he wants you to think about what could have possibly gone wrong, or if it even happened and she's just that lonely that she sets up a plate for two every single night. um and it really just makes you think about, why did I think about this, or why did I respond that way to them fighting, or I think a couple is fighting in this one, um
Yeah, the
or
newlyweds.
the newlyweds, yeah, are
Hmm.
fighting, and they go, ooh, they're gonna get a divorce. And then you think, wait, it was just one fight that I saw. That's not a- opposed to a divorce. Maybe it was something that happened at work and they were heated, or it got heated at work and she's just getting all of her frustration out and stuff. So, but it really gives you that perspective of, again, everything isn't what it seems until you get the whole story. And that's what I liked about this movie.
Yeah, it is truly fantastic, and that really comes down to the way that Hitchcock has written and crafted this movie.
Hmm.
By putting it in one place, he makes us take the same kind of positions and inferences and
Hmm.
guesses that
Hmm.
Jeffries makes, and it's absolutely wonderful. I do want to kind of pivot though and talk about the performances in this movie, because I feel like everyone does a really good job, but
Hmm.
especially James Stewart, who we've talked about several times here on Movie Club.
Hmm.
He's just wonderful here.
I mean,
Um,
he makes it seem like this movie is moving around, but you're just in one place the entire time. Because
yeah.
even him moving his wheelchair around, makes it feel like you're moving out of the room, but you're not
Hmm.
really. You're just moving to a different section of the room, and he
Yeah.
makes it feel it bigger than what it actually is.
Yeah. 100%. And then also fantastic is Grace Kelly, who plays his girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and she kind of becomes his means of going other places and seeing other things, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
His not his eyes and ears, but his feet and his hands, so to speak.
Yeah.
um
Well, and she gives him her perspective on what
yeah.
she sees through those windows that he's also looking at. Because maybe he is looking at it too long. She comes around and says, "No, that's not what I see. This is what I see," and then gives a different perspective on that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think both of them together, obviously Thelma Ritter is also in this movie. She's fantastic in pretty much everything she's in.
Is she the maid?
She's the nurse.
The nurse? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't not mean to call
um,
her a maid.
Yeah. Yeah, all nurses are maids. No, that's not what we're saying at all. Yeah, I really enjoy all the performances in this movie.
Mhm.
They all just work, and I think that's when that's what makes a film better, is when you can, um, you know, like when everyone works in harmony
Mhm.
to create something incredible.
Well, even the people that we don't hear talking are
Mhm.
good as well. Like the couple that are arguing, you don't hear what they're saying. You can just see what they're saying. And they make a really good point as like, oh, are they arguing? It's not like a question mark. It's like, oh, they're arguing about something. And that's what's nice about it too. But he does a little narration correct in this movie. Jeffrey.
There, there's a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I like when narrations are happening sometimes because it kind of gives you a perspective. We talk about perspective a lot in this movie because that's really all you're doing is you're looking through a rear window, giving perspective of what you see. But I like his narration sometimes. It gives it a little break in between. I don't want to say break as in like it was long or anything, but in between characters coming in and out or him having deep thoughts is what I feel like it is.
Sure, sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, I agree that I don't necessarily think that narration is important all the time,
Mhm.
but when you can use it to good effect, it really works. I think here it's fine.
Mhm.
If anything, it's probably the only point that I would take off of this movie. I mean, it's not the best, but
No.
it's not awful. But I think that that's made up for though, because Hitchcock does so much visual storytelling that's
Mhm.
not narrated, and I think that counterbalances it and kind of adjusts the
True.
kind of difference.
True,
So,
true.
um, But yeah, I mean, I also kind of want to talk about the technical aspect of this film. I don't know if you know, but that entire apartment complex is a set.
I did not know that.
The whole thing was constructed just for the movie.
That's cool. That's cool.
It is not a real building, and it is all exactly how Hitchcock wants you to see it. And that is what's really makes it something special, right? Every detail has been thought about.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you're seeing, like I said, what Hitchcock wants you to see, and he will show it to you because it means something. And that is incredible here. And while the staging is incredible for the film and the set design is wonderful, it's also shot beautifully.
Yes, it is. I mean, I like the perspective as well, or like the shot where you can see all four windows and it looks like you're watching little TVs pretty much of what is happening. And that's what I took
Exactly.
away from it is he's just watching a television, but it's actually happening in real life pretty much.
Yeah, and it leans into that idea that he is a stand-in for an audience of any kind, right? And how we see different stories being told. So it's just, again, it's a brilliant use of, you know, Hitchcock's staging, but also his creative process.
Yeah.
Okay, and so let's go ahead and wrap this up here. Kevin, was your pick this week, so I'll go ahead and go first. I think that Rear Window is a classic for a reason. It is beautifully staged, shot, crafted, written, performed, all to make you feel just like L.B. Jeffries in this movie. You truly do see what he's seeing, feel what he's feeling, hear what he's hearing. And it's just one of those film experiences that I can throw under the banner of being like magical. Like, it is truly just like a magical time at the movies. Absolutely love this movie. It's one of my favorites of all time, in my top 150, which showed up in the video that I made a couple months ago. So for me, I gave the film a 98 out of 100. It is an incredible film. I did say in my review that if you haven't seen it before, it's a must-watch, and if you have seen it before, it is a must-watch again.
I totally agree with that, and I wish we would have maybe held this back a little week because
it was playing in theaters.
It was playing in theater, and I think it would have been fantastic to see.
I mean, we can still go see it anyway.
That's true.
Might as well watch it again in theaters.
But for my review, I just said it is an amazing film, taking a perspective of being in one place in 1994 was unheard of, and Hitchcock does it perfectly in this movie. I feel like I give it a 97 out of 100. I bumped my score up before when we were talking about this, so It was at a 96. It is a 97 now. It is just a fantastic movie, especially for its time, especially with an amazing director like Hitchcock. It like, this movie could be done today, but it still wouldn't be as good as how he did it.
So the question now falls to you. What did you think of Rear Window? We'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comment section down below. But remember to be respectful of one another, because one of you might secretly be someone who killed someone. And you might find out just by looking through their window. But next week, we'll be covering the crime thriller Cure, which is a Japanese film. Are super, super excited to talk about this movie. Been wanting to watch it for a very long time. So make sure to watch it before next week so you're not spoiled. It is available to stream right now on Criterion Channel if you have access to that, or obviously you can rent it, I believe, pretty much everywhere. But thank you so much for watching this week. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. We do have our weekly live stream that goes live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we go over movie news, reviews, and a lot more discussion. We also spin the Wheel of Fate to see what movies we have to watch in a given week and discuss it on the next week. We also have this show, Movie Club, that goes live every single Friday at 4 a.m. So you have it just in time for your commute, your journey, your walk home, whatever it may be. And then also, this video is coming out on Friday. This last Monday, we just put out a video that is our tier list for movie theater concessions. A really fun discussion and video that we had. So hopefully you've checked it out already. If you haven't, you can find it on our channel. But thank you so much for watching. And until next time, make sure to keep those eyes on the screen.